movie audiences first saw Robert Duvall on film 20 years ago in To Kill a Mockingbird as Boo Radley. 30 films later, Vincent Canby wrote in the New York Times, "It's about time to recognize Robert Duvall as one of the most resourceful, most technically proficient, most remarkable actors in America today. I think he may well be the best we have, the American Olivier." And we'll be right back with Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall is with us. We've been talking around film and projects and theater, and I haven't said very much about, I've never met Bruce Beresford, but I certainly know Breaker Morant.
Yeah, it's a wonderful movie.
And I know that you are in Tender Mercies with, among others, Alan Barkin.
Yeah, Wilford Brimley.
Wilford, your friend
I
Wilford
insisted
Brimley.
on Wilford.
Did you?
Jean Harper. Betty Buckley.
Oh, from Cats.
Cats. And a little boy named Alan Hubbard from Paris, Texas. I'm dying to get him and Angelo Evans together to shake hands for a little publicity. It'd be great. He's wonderful. I put him on the phone, actually, with that East Texas accent and that New York gypsy accent. It was funny.
You're high on Tender Mercies, aren't you?
I think so. I think it's a lovely movie. I think it have maybe been edited differently and been a better movie even, but it's a lovely movie, and some of my favorite work, because I love working in Horton Foote's Foot projects.
And how about you and Bruce Beresford? Did you look at his work? Did you know his work before
Yeah,
you
well,
went
Breaker
on?
Morant was the main one I'd seen. I thought it was wonderful. I mean, there were certain differences, but, you know, sometimes differences tend to add up than if it's all roses or whatever, you know. He brought a cinematographer from, and an editor, and...
From Australia?
Yeah, and we all ended up in Texas. It was a different kind of, it was different camps, it seemed, and there wasn't a lot of communication, but somehow we did communicate, and he told a story. There were times when we didn't get along, you know, it happens, but so he came one day and was laughing, we were talking, he said, you know, the same crew was working on a big sequel to a movie, and he said, they heard some screaming and yelling in the hotel, so they like forced the door open. There was the lead actor, had the director on the floor choking him, banging his head. So I think Bruce was like, we laughed about letting me know that our problems weren't that great, because there were just a few words exchanged once in a while, but nothing like that.
Now let me ask you something, Bob.
Yeah.
Did you tell Bruce Beresford while you were doing Tender Mercies that you confronted the legendary Henry Hathaway on the set of True Grit, and you said, "I'm going to take you up in front of the Union"?
Yeah.
And John Wade on the sidelines said, "I think he's got the boys' gander up."
Right, that's the true story.
What did Henry Hathaway do to you on True Grit?
Well, I kind of beat him to the punch. Now, he said to Glenn Campbell, never acted before, when I say action, tense up, blankety blank, you know, you don't, you know, can you imagine you say, now, Bob, right before the cameras roll for my show, tense up. I mean, that's the worst thing you could say to a performer of any kind. And I heard that, I said, and I'd heard about this, they reduced full-grown men to tears, and that Jack Webb had made him get on his hands and knees and beg him to stay. He was going to walk off a movie in front of the whole cast. So this guy had like a reputation, and I was nervous, so I kind of beat him to the punch. He said, "Son, I told you to put your horse here." I said, "Hey, don't give me that Martha Graham stuff. Don't pose me." I said, I had that at the neighborhood playhouse. We got into this violent argument. I got lightheaded, and we went on. John Wayne was getting a kick out of it. But, you know, it was okay because we ended up okay, and but it's more old school, you know. You can't look around, look down, you know.
Did you and John Wayne get along, Bob?
Oh yeah, yeah. But when I told that story to Bruce, I think I did tell that story. He laughed. But yeah, I got along with the Duke, as they call him. He was a nice man.
I offer that back to you because I still remember the first time you met Donald Sutherland. And you didn't know you would work together again after you met Donald Sutherland, because whether I talk about Robert Altman and MASH, and you were the one who got Hot Lips Houlihan
yeah.
in the tent.
All right, now let's see if you come up with what I told Donald Sutherland.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
You walked up, you shook hands, and you said, "Hello, teach me how to be a communist."
I said, if I come over your house tomorrow, you teach me how to be a communist. You don't know what to say. It's true. I said, absolutely true story.
How long a pause was it, Bob?
That was a pregnant pause, yeah. It's funny.
Does Jane Fonda know that you called her a mink coat liberal?
Well, I'm sure she is, but you know, I don't know. I don't say it with great viciousness, but it's probably true that our business is inundated with such people, and I'm sure I would be considered like a. My wife's a little bit more liberal than I. I said, look, at least if I'm a right-wing bigot, so and so's a left-wing bigot, you know. But I'm more down the middle, you know. I don't get politically into things. Oh,
I know you
I'm
don't.
a little bit more like Wilford. Now, when Wilfred got off, coming back from Yugoslavia doing High Road to China, he got off the plane, got down on his hands and knees, and kissed the ground physically. I laughed so hard when I heard that. Yeah.
But what did you do when you took your eye patch off when you'd finished The Eagle Has Landed?
My eye patch? What do you mean?
When you did The Eagle
Yeah.
Has Landed, and you were playing a very complicated Nazi.
Oh, yeah.
You had an eye patch.
Right.
And I would just imagine when the last shot was called and you knew you were taking the eye patch off for the last time. I'm curious, I guess, what's it like working with one eye covered? And playing a Nazi?
Well, you know, speaking of that, you know, I got on a helicopter, had to leave Bel Air in the Philippines because they were behind to fly to London to do that part. And I didn't have much time to prepare. I mean, as I flew away, I mooned the set from the helicopter. And we got to England, and I had just a little time to work on the accent and everything. They threw the eye patch on me. He said, action, the first scene. And I had to be a smoker. I went to light that cigarette, and I missed by this much. Because when you cover up one eye, your depth perception, somehow it falters. And I couldn't get that cigarette at first. It was kept missing. So it's a strange adjustment to make, not having had a lot of time to work with that eye patch and smoke at the same time. So I learned on film, kind of, as it were.
When you did Bullet with Peter Yates, did you and Steve McQueen become friends? Were you buddies?
No, because I didn't really work that much with him. I worked 3 days with pay, and then had 5.5 weeks off with pay. So that's when I really learned how to play tennis in the Chinese playground up in San Francisco. And then I came back on the set, and the director, sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you get, and that was another time, I didn't mean to, but like the director said, would you, and I went, ah! Like went nuts. And everybody looked at me because I had been away from the set for so long that it's like I didn't know what was expected of me, and suddenly I got like conflicting bits of direction, and like then I had a quick outburst and it was over, because like, and Steve McQueen looked at me like I was, you know, but those things happen sometimes when suddenly you don't work for so long, and then you throw them back on the set. People start hemming you in a little bit. But I never really had much to do with him because I didn't, you know, we didn't work together, and I didn't really get to know him at all.
Bob, what happens when you're the kind of actor who prepares the way you prepare? I said earlier, you arrive when your character has passed. You have the nuance you have.
Yeah.
When you're working on a film like The Detective and you have a star whose name is over the title like Frank Sinatra,
Yeah.
who prefers to do everything in one take and would like to leave.
Yeah. He threatens to throw that scene out if it's not done in a minimum of takes.
Do you just say, well, it says Frank Sinatra in The Detective, and if we don't get it the first time, we don't get it?
Yeah, it's been so long, you know. That's fine if he wants to wait. Sometimes it is better to get things on the first few takes. I used to be more like that. I'm a little more patient to try more takes now, but it's okay. The only thing I really remember about that movie specifically was that Paul Newman came to visit Frank Sinatra on the set. And he came out, Sinatra came out, and here comes Paul Newman walking up the street with an entourage of a bevy of beauties, you know, and following. And here came Sinatra, and I said, these two, I said, now there's power. That's power. You know, these two guys who were such big public figures had instant followings wherever they go. Not that I necessarily would want that, but it was a certain phenom that was, I evidenced then in me. I remembered it very much.
When you and Robert De Niro have the history you have together, and you do a film like True Confessions, is there a freedom, is there a resiliency where Ulu Grossbard will let the two of you sit down and work out a scene? John Gregory Dunn and Joan Didion were on the set a lot.
Yes.
They both said, we're the only two writers in Hollywood who hate being on the set. But they were there because if anybody wanted anything rewritten, adjusted, whatever, it could be done.
Right.
Was
and
there
with
a
a slight pause, John Gregory Dunn would say, he would like nod and say, okay, it's all right to improvise a little. Most writers don't like that, you know, but we change here and there a little bit. But they were always around, yeah, and you know, and I'm sure in a good way. Yeah, but it was nice working on that film because De Niro's the kind of a guy, he's always a little inaccessible, it seems, you know, I think, in life. We once said to him, let's go to watch football games. No, I don't watch football. He's the only guy I know that doesn't watch the Super Bowl. I can't believe that, you know, but that's the way he is. And that part, it was good for that part because the priest he played was a little, you know, and he's like that in life too, always a little bit like that, you know, more than most, I think.
Do you know the story, well, it's a Jerry Lewis story, that during the shooting of King of Comedy, Robert De Niro wanted Jerry Lewis's watch. And Jerry Lewis had gone to Winston-Salem to play golf. They had to get a guard to open a hotel suite to take the watch. He put it on, put his shirt over it, put his jacket on, and did the scene, and nobody could see the watch.
De Niro?
Yeah,
Like
and Jerry Lewis said, if it made him feel better, some people might think it's cuckoo, but that's where genius comes from. The watch did something for him.
It's like I heard when De Niro was working with you know, Mitchum, that he disappeared, and we kept waiting, and he came back, and Mitchum said, "Where were you?" He said, "Well, I had to find my character that I was looking at it." Okay, so the next day, Mitchum disappeared for 20 minutes, and he said, "Well, I was looking for my character, too. I finally found him." Kept everybody waiting.
We have to take another break.
Right.